The boys at the back kept Haaland very, very quiet. Just a lapse in concentration at vital times allowed them to get the win, but I think that we were valued for a point there.
It does mean Chelsea stay 10th, point behind Brentford, 3 behind Fulham, who the next league game is against. Of course, the next game is against City again in the Cup. And we're just seeing down there the City players now applauding their fans. Pep Guardiola's having a long chat with Mateo Kovacic down here. You know, Jason stood here for that 1-0 defeat to Arsenal. It's felt like a very different kind of 1-0 defeat. Chelsea had a real go here.
Yes, I think Dan summed it up very well. You know, it felt that there wasn't much between the two sides at all, and in the end, the difference between the two sides was a brilliant goal from £160 million worth of talent. You know, one player on the left-hand side. I thought Ziyech defended well. He helped out Aspie a lot, but it was that 1v1. It's the quality of the cross. It's those fresh legs, getting in behind Cucurella. And that really was the difference. You know, there wasn't a huge amount between them. City second half were much better. They couldn't have been... I thought they were poor first half. I thought we were good. But I felt we need to try and be a little bit more creative. You know, there wasn't many times that the keeper was called into action. They're a good side. Look, the champions of England for a reason. And their squad is strength in depth. I think what Potter will look back on, and there's the injuries that he's already had, there's the changes that he was enforced to, you know, in a matter of minutes, 2 of those. And I felt that the players that came in, Chukwuemeka, I thought was brilliant. We waxed lyrical about him. Zakaria in the middle of the park, Dan's touched on that. I thought he was outstanding. It just feels like there's a little bit up top. Need to find a way to create a little bit more when we're playing well. And I think you can go back to the Forest game first half, had lots of possession, didn't really create a lot. And I think that's got to be the problem that the gaffer solves throughout the season.
Including up front, and obviously creation of chances, but sticking them away. We've seen a lot for a couple of years now, boys, of Kai Havertz playing in there. Sometimes Pulisic's been in there, sometimes Raheem Sterling's in there. Aubameyang seems to be more out than in. Obviously today he's got a chance because of the injury. Is it madness to think that a striker might be signed in this window?
I think we need one. I really do. I think a lot of times we're playing strikers that aren't conventional strikers. You know, Pulisic is a forward but not a striker. Sterling is a forward, not a striker. Kai is a 10, 9.5, but naturally he comes to the ball. He doesn't want to. It's not in his natural instinct to turn and face the goal and just make a run, hoping that the ball finds itself in the channel. He wants to come and be part of the build-up. We might need, you know, a player who wants to look the other way, someone who's a bit more direct, maybe somebody who's not so good and tidy at football, but he is a shark. I think that, you know, I'd like to see our stats in terms of shots. You know, I feel like we build and build and build and pass, but, you know, I remember years gone by with anything inside 30 yards and Frankie Lampard is hitting it. It doesn't matter what the angle is, he's hitting it, and it keeps defences honest, it keeps keepers honest, and it makes, you know, players have to either come to you or it makes them have to back off. And I think after we maybe need to shoot more. I know it seems like a very simple thing to say, but I think that we get to a certain place on the edge of their 18-yard box and we look for the final pass and the final pass and the final pass. Maybe we should just be hitting it.
I totally agree with that. I mean, the other night, here tonight, Dean Henderson the other night and Ederson tonight. I mean, Kepa, in fairness, hasn't had much to do either, but we're not working the goalkeepers. I don't have the shots on target for tonight or indeed for Nottingham Forest in front of me right at this second, but
I think
we know they're low,
I feel
right?
That we watched the last 3 or 4 minutes.
End product, even if it's saved.
Look, once the ball's on that left-hand side, that ball's got to come in. Not every time, but there were bodies in the box. But when it did come in, and that Lewis Hall ran down that left-hand side, you're asking for someone to arrive on the edge of the box, to the penalty spot. No one was there. So that joined-up thinking between creating opportunities and having someone to either on the end of it, that's got to improve, because we're not creating enough. And when the odd time it does come in, we're all going, oh, someone's got to arrive.
2 shots on target is the answer that's just come through my ears. What we will be very interested to see is what sort of team plays against City again on Sunday in the Cup. I should think Guardiola will change it around a bit. Graham Potter's probably not going to have a great deal of choice. His bench is already light as it is, and I don't mean necessarily in terms of talent, I mean in actual numbers. Thanks for joining us up here. From Jason to Dan and me, it's goodbye, but back down to you lot, it's hello.
Thank you very much, boys. Yeah, brilliant work as always. Savage, Dan, Ben Andrews and Jason Cundy up in the gantry for us, talking us through it. Chelsea, 1-0 defeat against Manchester City, boys. When you come up against Manchester City, you know you're going to have large periods of the game where maybe you have to stay in it a little bit. Sooner or later, a lot of the time, they're going to test you. They did that. It's a good, well-worked goal. 2 substitutes make the difference.
Yeah, 100%. I think they realised at half-time that things weren't going to plan. They needed to go back to their old ways, and they made the changes, and you saw within the first 5 minutes that how quickly that can get them back to being dominant, and they were dominant in the second half. They were much better in the second half. I was thinking during that first half, if we don't capitalise here, they're going to get better. They can't get worse than this. They're Manchester City, and the people that they have on the bench are so impactful. It's a shame because that 5-minute period in that second half is what let us down. We went a bit sleepy. We weren't on it. We weren't paying attention to where Mahrez was or how much space we were giving someone like Jack Grealish. Yes, maybe Kepa could have done a little bit better with the ball as well that goes into the box. But that's playing against the elite. If you're sleeping for just a few seconds, for a few minutes, they'll punish you, and they did today. I
think that's a really good point, and it's maybe coming back to what we said before the game about learning lessons in these sort of games, you know. And the team that finished tonight, Amari Hutchinson, Lewis Hall, Carney Chukwuemeka, they're going to learn a lot from being out on the pitch and that. And to be fair to them as well, they're not that far off the champions of England.
100%, and we said it at the beginning of the game. Like these are the type of games where you want to learn, and you want the younger players to have that experience to playing against the best. And like Zach said, you've got players like Mahrez, Grealish coming off the bench. They've got Calvin Phillips coming on in the last 5 minutes. But Lewis Hall, he had a great opportunity in the last few minutes where if he had maybe taken an extra touch, or if someone was in the box, he could have played it too as well. Chukwuemeka had an incredible game, and like Zach said, it is literally just 5 minutes of almost getting used to how City are playing in that second half, because in the first half we were all over them, and then in the second half they switched things up a little bit. They started finding space in the wider areas, and we just couldn't take our chances, and the game ended how it did.
I think when it comes down to it, you know, you look at the injury list that Chelsea are compiling at the moment.
Only growing.
Exactly, 2 more additions to that this evening. 3 more additions if you count Mason Mount, who got injured in training before this game. In terms of good evening. In terms of that, and you look at the difference between the players that Manchester City can then utilise from the substitutes bench. Chelsea have been in that position before, you know, and you know, we're certainly not going to sit here and cry about injuries, because big teams have to deal with that throughout the course of a season. But that is the difference tonight, and I guess that comes down to it and shows where the 2 teams are at the moment. They're not that far apart full strength, but where we are at the moment is probably that.
For sure. I mean, the thing is, right now, Chelsea are trying to get to where City are. They're trying to get to where, you know, say it quietly, and Arsenal are. They're trying to build projects. They're trying to have a team which can grow, and through that, I think Potter said it himself in press conferences, you need to suffer. And the past couple of games we have been suffering, but today at least it felt like we were improving, or we were learning, we were taking a step forward in that suffering, and hopefully soon that will become to enjoyment for us, where we're winning those games, we're having better performances. Today was over. For large parts of the day, there was good periods. Yeah. There was good periods. Absolutely. Yes, as you said, it's a shame. Mason Mount being injured beforehand is very frustrating, considering how important he is to the squad. Then Pulisic, then another one who has escaped my mind, Raheem as well, within the first 2 minutes. Like, there is an element where you sit there and you go, bit of luck would be good to come our way. It really would. And then, you know, just to think as well that Reece James, you know, Chilwell. I read a stat a couple of days ago, I think I might have said it on comms, that, like, I think since 2022, Kanté, James and Chilwell have only played 1 game together. Like, that's rough. Like, that's really unfortunate. And there is a little bit of luck that goes your way. Yeah, 3 very key players. 3 key players to win the Champions League. Yeah. And so when you look at it like that, you go, okay. And then, as you mentioned, the fact that the youngsters came on, like, we're seeing something. I'm much happier with that performance than I was maybe with the Nottingham Forest performance.
I completely agree. Quite a lot of social media reaction, as you'd imagine, to do with all the injuries, and a lot of people talking about how much that affects Chelsea as a football club. And by the time Chelsea Manchester City ends up about 5 fans would have drafted the Chelsea squad.
I don't mind playing.
Sam was warming up, to be honest. Sam was warming up. I'll tell you that now.
I see him open and close the gate a few times when we were stood down here before the game. But this is exactly it. You know, there is a long injury list. We're a big club, right? We're a big club, okay? And we're certainly not going to cry about having a lot of injuries because big clubs have to deal with that. That's part and parcel of being a big club. You can't have a squad of 25 internationals and then complain when 6 or 7 are out, because that's why you've got a big squad. But there is a point to say that this group of players are still relatively new, the amount of players that have come in, the manager's still trying to get his thought process across. And when you are losing so many key players in key areas, it's going to have an effect. We saw Liverpool a few years ago losing 3 or 4 centre-halves. We had it at the start of last season, 3 or 4 central midfielders go out, and then all of a sudden defenders are injured, then attacking players are injured. So you are going to have to deal with that. But I think what we saw tonight is that the squad, the larger squad, which perhaps we haven't seen to an extent with Lewis Hall and Amari Hutchinson, they've got a huge role to play, and they're very ready from what we saw this evening.
Definitely, we've been through a lot in the last few months. Obviously, we've had the World Cup as well. That was a big, stop in the season, and then coming back and then losing key players, and also having a manager that wants to implement his philosophy into the team. But like we said at the beginning, it was more, yes, we would have wanted to get points or 3 points or even a point at this stage, but at the same time, for me, it was more about the performance, because performance is what you can build from. And I think Potter can go into the change room and tell the team that they can hold their heads up high, because the younger players came in and nothing changed too much. It was even more exciting seeing them being in that fold and actually rising to the challenge.
And Chelsea are facing this same side in a couple of days' time. And it's the FA Cup. And look, there might be a few changes by City, but they're going to be facing this similar side. They can get something. Today would have proven they can get something from that game. You expect City to probably play a weaker side, considering the title chase that they've got in the FA Cup, and obviously, in the Premier League, and also very far as well in the League Cup, and want to go far in the Champions League. Maybe they'll be willing to, and we have seen in that League Cup game we played them just a couple of months ago, where they play a bit of a weaker side. And so that's a game where Chelsea should look at and be thinking, okay, we can get something from this. We can get a win here. We can knock them out of the competition. And then all of a sudden, within a couple of days, headlines go from Chelsea losing to Manchester City to, Chelsea have beaten Manchester City.
I think you're absolutely right. This tweet actually, I think, sums it up really nicely as well, talking about Thiago Silva and the kind of, I suppose it underlines the balance within the squad. But Miguel Delaney saying Thiago Silva is about 6 months older than the combined age of Amari Hutchinson and Lewis Hall. But that's really important, Sam, isn't it? Because you do have to have that balance, and when you've got younger players that are going to have that fearlessness that you get with younger players, you need also the older players to perhaps bring in that calming influence and perhaps that have been there and done it. And if you've got Thiago Silva, we've said this a million times on this show, but if you've got Thiago Silva, he is the epitome of an excellent professional. You look at what Thiago does on the pitch, and I imagine off the pitch in the gym and everything as well, you just follow his lead.
Yeah, honestly, I think you can have a show reel of how many times we've complimented that him as a player, him as a man as well, but you can see today playing against probably the most informed striker in the world, and we're not talking about what Haaland done. Koulibaly as well, credit to him, because they made sure that wasn't going to be a headline, and yes, we wasn't able to get the result, but at the same time, like I said, that is a huge positive, because if we take that performance into any of the other games that we've got moving forward, you would expect us to get results and start getting points on the board, because like we said, the season's going to be a long season. We're just coming back off the break. We've had a few games, one win, 2 losses, but at the same time, it's now about how to build on the positives.
Absolutely, and if you're Lewis Hall, you've had 2 good outings and good showings against Manchester City in the space of 2 months. All of a sudden, I think you've tested yourself against the very best. Also, we need to mention Haaland didn't play that well. Salute to Dan.
Dan, yeah.
Oh, good work, Dan. Yeah, very good work. Let's go back to shoot past clear then from before the game. We spoke about this. We decided these are the 3 scenarios that we had to select from earlier. Shoot, obviously, the thing that we assume would happen most. Pass, which would be something that might happen, might not happen, and clear, something we absolutely believe will not happen. Now, we shot on goalless at half-time. So that's a good sign, because we got that right. I think we passed on Raheem to score against his former club. Obviously, Raheem only 2 minutes before
speedy recoveries as well, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely.
That should be a forfeit one, though, because he didn't finish the game.
Technically, we weren't wrong.
Technically, yeah.
And we only had 2 corners, and we decided to miss that. So really, in fairness, we're flown tonight. And again, brilliantly puts out. Yeah, we echo that, and hopefully Raheem is not too badly injured, and we'll find out obviously in the next couple of days. And make sure you stay across all Chelsea social medias. We'll keep you across that as soon as possible. Let's get into trivia as well. Then now, Zach, you would have been upstairs when we were doing this.
Yeah, I would have got this right.
I was going to say with Ben Andrews as well, and I do want to put out there, Ben's encyclopedic knowledge of Chelsea is exceptional. So I'm guessing he'd have got this right. You think you'd have got it right? Who are we going with, Zach, then?
Who scored the winner the last time Chelsea beat there? Christian Pulisic.
See, we felt Pulisic.
We thought it was Pulisic.
Who I would have said.
Okay, let's have a
Who I
look.
would have
Let's
said.
have a look. We thought Pulisic as well. Let's have a little look.
Oh,
He equalised.
and this
Williams
wins-
scored the winner.
and
Oh
this
yeah,
wins
because the
Liverpool.
handball.
And
Yes.
this wins Liverpool the Premier League.
Yes, it
Essentially.
does, doesn't it?
Because it was Fernandinho, the handball.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Was. So it was William.
Oh, you
Oh my
William
God.
as well. I saw the Pulisic goal earlier, and obviously I'm pretty sure, is this the same game?
Yeah, it's the
At least I remember the
it's
kit.
the
I
same
remember the
game,
kit.
it's the kit, yeah.
Breakaway
But,
goal, and then because
yeah.
then I think as well, this is a very niche bit of memory, but I
gosh,
think
I
as well
can't
on the
put that
TV
wrong.
coverage you could hear Jason Cundy because
Yeah,
there was
yeah, you
no,
could. Yeah, you could
really could.
screaming.
You could hear him screaming in the background because this was obviously during COVID when we had no one in. So not a result. Not
Can
a result we were
I
after.
quickly mention, Badia Shield just walked past us. He
Yeah.
is
He's huge.
huge.
Yeah.
He is huge.
And he looks focused already.
And I have this thing where I look at fresh players and I'm like, I could beat him in a header. Could not beat him at all. Sorry, I just thought I'd mention that.
That's a really good point, really good. I mean, we might in fact see Ben White's debut this weekend against Manchester City. Here's what's coming up over the next couple of days on the fifth stand-up for you then. Hopefully so. You never know, dear. We'll find out as the press roll in and speak to Graham Potter ahead of that. You can, of course, keep across everything on the Fifth Stand App and across Chelsea's social channels. And on the Sunday, join us for Matchday Live. 4:45 right here for the FA Cup tie away at the Etihad against Lisbon from tonight, Manchester City. Okay, boys, one word to sum up this evening. Zach, I'll start with you.
Progression. Yeah, as I said, better is better, but with progression you also see consistency. So hopefully there's a word for you.
No, I like
I was
that.
going to say courageous, to
Yeah.
be fair. Yeah, I think when we went 1-0 down, the changes we made as well, still consistent as well. So yeah, I think it's a courageous performance. I think if we go into this next performance with that same heart desire, we can get a result.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I think you're bang on, boys. Progression and courageous. I like that a lot. Thank you very much for watching this evening. Yeah, Chelsea unfortunately fall to a 1-0 defeat against Manchester City, but we go again on Sunday, the same opposition, so make sure you join us in this one for a place in the next round of the FA Cup. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of your evening.